I've gone to a couple art schools, and one of them I got an MFA at, and the other one is now defunct. It was the Oregon College of Art and Craft. It was out there, right at the edge of Beaverton, and it had been going on for a long time. It was a pretty cool space, and I went there to learn bookmaking, like the physical aspect of making books, broadsides, things like that. In fact, the little chapbooks today, which are not nearly as fancy as I've learned to make, but me and my daughter made those, and it's just these fun things. Like I'm a big fan of Paige design and things like that. But my first day at the school, I went around and just sat at this table, and at lunchtime-ish, I just watched people come and go. And you know, the first day of school is uncomfortable no matter what age you are. You know, whether it's like, at least it was for me. I don't know, maybe some people like, woo, but like for me, it was always like like there was a lot of tension, whether I was a little kid or even the first day of college. So just watching people and how they interacted the first day, I wrote this like series of sort of like persona bits about these students like sitting around me and just sort of like imagining them. So these I've never read before, and I'm excited to read them. So I'm just going to start reading them, and I'll probably stop at some point. We'll see. This is art school students on the first day of class. Silhouettes of baby hummingbirds on the windows. She's missing her dog. It doesn't matter that it's a mutt. The smartphone is her sole connection. Her sole connection feels fractured. From here, she can hear a highway, the march of gravel. If she wanted, thoughts of those around her, colors that hold her here, a text message that reminds her she's alone. On a porch in the conifer shade, he also has doubts. Partially in the schedule he blames, mostly in himself. He hasn't drawn shit since 8th grade. His walls have faded translucent. The tree piles silent layers at its base, dry and acidic, an organism warring against grasses who would suffocate its children. The pH weapon corroding in the soil seeps through breeze, and he takes a deep breath, thinks the air clean, believes it's telling them he made the right choice. He closes his eyes and hopes to fool everyone long enough to remember all he's forgotten. 1 at a table for 6. She faces a courtyard of lunch conversation concerning the 9-inch nail show she missed, piled amid the chatter of week 1 kids who feel obligated to discuss only art. She has this figured out, defiant, sees the humor in it, and still chooses sincerity, chooses to play her game, meet the eyes of another, never look away first. It's power, a space invasion, a reaffirmation of who she is and who she must become. She skips lunch because, like a final semester, it's a formality, a pace in her day she's chosen to stare down, to wait out. He counts and hates his blushes. A sign said, no unnecessary noise, and he's so afraid to clear his throat in the hall alone. He hides discomfort by gazing through a photograph. He spends a moment remembering a promise he made to everyone he asked. And then what? He always answered, I don't know. He always promised greatness. Approaching footsteps echo in the hall, and greatness seems like a silly word. He doesn't face the steps. They slow briefly as they pass behind him to tap along the tile floor towards the bathroom. In their wake, the air is stirred cigarettes, and his eyes focus, and he recognizes the photo before him as a nude. And he remembers or invents an intake of air from the passerby, and blushes for the 5th time today. A tunnel of architectural inspiration, a vented moment emphysema, and a rising gray, the most beautiful of a once farmed small structures, only fitting it crowns cheating death. She just needs it to cover her guilt. A family history of debt, the extra job her mother works to cover rising costs of school and rent and food, but really cigarettes? Her mother should have retired in 2012. Letters she sends are encouraging and loving and humble and worse than if she'd only written to remind her daughter of the cost. Not money, but time, life's time. If her mother only knew, she inhales. Parked close, a boxy Volvo fires up, fills the tunnel with exhaust. Conversations end as each smoker takes a drag and breathes out their addition, their offering to the oil-sweet blue smoke drifting towards the mountains. Whiteboards groan with footsteps above, the only sound that cuts through the churning AC. He came here to find someone like himself and is convinced he's found his home. He will tell his older brother, the one who still cares, that he has friends who understand his art, his awkward speech, and why he hurts for the world so badly some days he can't make it out of bed. He'll tell his brother people appreciate him for who he is, finally. He writes down some names to tell his brother, names of characters from his favorite TV show, a video game he remembers. His fingers calloused by the pencil, he writes them into a pad full of names. Alone at his table, he writes them carefully in hopes they'd approve. He writes, "Be wishful what you care for." The air is dust and mud, reminds her of Santa Fe rain, the smell of adobe, the smell of appropriated culture, the smell of grandmother's cooking, the elegant names twisted American Nuevo Mexico, soft as flour before the water. They mixed it into life, formed a gathering. Her grandmother had names, the sculpture, flauta, the instrument of their communion, and it was perfect. The clay yields to her, does all she asks, and she does not wonder why. They say there's poison in these leaden letters. He says, no more than in what they can be used to print. As a child, he liked to open and close fishing weights with his teeth. Pipes of water fountains were made of lead. Someone printed demographics in a school brochure, but not with these, with electric letters, with no rut, easy to skip over. And another class of women, in him he feels alone or apart, or less apart, but maybe that's everyone here. So much solitary to art. Letters are paint, words, brushes, paper, canvas, an open drawer, and fingers run across graven alphabets, a type of worship he could fade in the quiet volumes of this room. The symbols he has spent decades decoding, recoding 26, and still has no answers save passion, obsession. When he slides a loud drawer shut, a rusted car door echo vibrates the metal around it. The air tastes metallic, copper maybe. He's not lonely. My God, how he loves these letters. There's a reason this is the longest.